What an excellent day for an exorcism.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
What up, you badass motherfuckers? I'm Eric Harrison and welcome to the Death Twitch. Well, it's fucking Halloween, so we might as well talk about the self-proclaimed scariest movie of all time, The Exorcist from 1973.
Somewhere between science and superstition, there is another world. The world of darkness. Nobody expected it. Nobody believed it. And nothing could stop it.
There are no experts. You probably know as much about possession as most priests. Look, your daughter doesn't say she's a demon. She says she's the devil himself.
I'm telling you that that thing upstairs isn't my daughter. Now, I want you to tell me that you know for a fact that there's nothing wrong with my daughter except in her mind. You tell me you know for a fact that an exorcism wouldn't do any good. You tell me that!
The one hope. The only hope. The Exorcist.
Alright, so The Exorcist came out in 1973 and was directed by William Friedkin. The novel and screenplay were both written by William Peter Blatty and based on a 1949 real-life exorcism of a young boy named Roland Doe. The movie stars Ellen Burstyn, Max von Sydow, Jason Miller, and Linda Blair. The plot concerns two priests doing battle against forces of evil in order to save a young girl's soul. Alright, so the cultural impact of this movie can't be overstated. This is affectionately known as the scariest horror movie of all time, and while it doesn't affect me on that level, I do consider this to be one of the most important horror movies of all time. So the early 70s heralded a change in the horror landscape. We had three key movies that came out during this time that I feel brought a whole new vibe to the genre, those being The Last House on the Left in 1972, The Exorcist in 1973, and then Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974. These movies brought a whole new vibe of grungy primal realism that had not really been a part of the horror genre up to this point. It really brought a certain weight to the genre that gave it credence. And I feel like this was a turning point in horror and probably the birth of modern horror, and that these movies, and particularly The Exorcist, still affect horror movies today. Not to mention that this movie was nominated for multiple Academy Awards, of which two it won for Best Screenplay and Best Sound. Alright, so 2 years before Jaws created the summer blockbuster, The Exorcist had people lining up around the block to see this movie that was just traveling word of mouth about how extreme it was, how crazy it was. It was like the devil was actually in the movie and people just had to go and see it and experience this thing. There is, of course, all these rumors of people fainting, people who would come out of the movie before it was over. They just couldn't finish it. There's the story of the guy who fainted during the movie and broke his jaw on the seat in front of him. Yeah, you know, it's just like... And it's understandable, too, because you have to remember the early 70s. It's like, we had not seen anything like this before. And this movie went just straight balls to the fucking wall. Satanic crazy. So I would imagine the mentality of the people back then was not quite ready for this, but it was just kind of forced on the world, like, you know what, you're not ready for this movie, but fucking here it is. So I totally get that people were fucking freaking out when they saw this back in the day. This movie is off the chain. It's so crazy that after the movie was made, for like a good 6 months, the studio had to provide Linda Blair with bodyguards because she was receiving death threats from fundamentalists and people that I guess couldn't tell fantasy from reality and actually thought she might be the devil. So, you know, they were blaming her for bringing some kind of evil into this world and threatening to kill her or whatever. It's like, Jesus Christ, this movie. It was a phenomenon for sure. The original shooting days of this was 85 days to shoot the movie, and that's actually a long time as it is. They usually spend about 4 to 5, maybe 6 weeks actually filming a movie, but this actually got stretched out to 224 days. That's nearly a year, of filming. That is a long time to film, but a lot of that has to do with the director's meticulousness, wanting to get things right, and it shows in the movie, it shows in every frame. But part of that also revolves around the alleged curse of the movie. So I don't know if I believe in the curse or not, but there certainly was a lot of bad coincidences that happened. People close to cast and crew died mysteriously. A few of the cast members actually died after their parts were done being filmed. There was a fire that broke out that destroyed a whole set, only it just didn't touch Reagan's room, but it burnt up everything else and they had to spend time rebuilding the whole set again. Actress Ellen Burstyn injured her back during the movie in a scene that's in the movie, so you can actually watch it happen and hear her cry out in pain, the poor woman. Mercedes Cambridge is the voice of the demon in the movie, and many years after the filming, her son lost his mind, killed his family, and killed himself. And not to mention that there's actually a scene with an extra who wound up being a murderer and then confessing to the bag murders in the late 70s. So there's a possible serial killer in The Exorcist. Again, yeah, that's maybe if you're messing around with these kinds of things, this kind of subject matter, you might bring some bad juju on yourself. I'm not sure how much I want to believe in the curse of The Exorcist, but there was a lot of bad coincidences. Let's talk about the special effects, because these are amazing special effects and they still hold up today. And I want to say that this is probably maybe also another one of the reasons why the shooting schedule got stretched to 224 days was they were probably really trying to master these effects and taking the time that was necessary to get them right. Because like I said, shit still holds up today. It's still effective. I still will watch scenes and go, how did they do that? Or there'll be certain scenes where I know how they did it and it's just mind-blowing, like with the whole refrigerated set, because towards the end while they're doing the exorcism, the room is so cold that you can see everybody's breath. And of course, this is long before CGI, so they did everything real, the way it should be. They actually made that set sub-zero cold so that when people were breathing and speaking, you could see their breath on cam. And everyone had to suffer through it, but that's about the craft of when you put in that much effort to create something. And it looks way better than if they had the ability to use CGI. Like, I've seen movies today that use CGI breath when it's supposed to be cold and it's not actually cold. It looks like some fucking fake cartoon shit. Fuck that shit. Keep that shit real, man. I'm telling you. It looks so much better, and it's going to hold up, because, like, that CGI breath you see in movies nowadays, that's not going to hold. It already looks like a cartoon. That shit ain't going to hold up. But The Exorcist holds the fuck up because this is a movie that kept it real. But yeah, all the effects, they did the makeup. I think they did a really good job on her makeup because they didn't take it too far. They didn't go full blown like Red Satan with horns. They knew how to still keep the appearance of a little girl there, but that was possessed by some kind of demonic entity. Another good bit of special effects that I didn't even notice like the first few times of watching this movie until I started delving deeper into the behind the scenes is that the actor Max von Sydow was only 44 years old during the filming of The Exorcist, but they put all these prosthetics and all this makeup on him to make him look like 74 years old. And he legitimately looks like a 74-year-old priest, dude. But he was only 44. Like, that's crazy. That is so cool. And I would imagine like, I kept thinking, why would they do that? And I'm assuming the reasons why are because it's like, hey, we're going to have you in a sub-zero set that's freezing. We're going to have a few scenes where you get tossed around. Maybe they didn't really want an actual old man, like some fragile old man that might get broken on the set of The Exorcist. So they hired Max von Sydow. But again, that's just goes to show about the craft of movie making. When you really care, you'll put in all the effort. What else can we talk about? Let's talk about the pacing of the movie. I think is pitch fucking perfect because, you know, I'm always talking about I like a slow burn, and this movie did it just right. And when it does reach a fevered pace at the end, the climax it's out of control, but it doesn't rush to that. It just takes its time. We're introduced to these characters. We get to know these characters and their relationship to one another, or their budding relationship to one another. I like these little moments between Chris and Reagan. Just they seem almost improvised, and they're just very quiet, small little moments, things you would experience in your real life with your daughter or your son, your mom, your sister. Just real experiences. It's not something that's playing a big part in the overall plot. We're just getting a feel for who we should be caring about, you know, because, you know, we're gonna want to root for the priest to bring this little girl's soul back from hell. So the pacing, it doesn't rush, it just kind of eases in there, but it builds up like a snowball effect. It gets faster and faster, and then in that last 20 minutes it gets fucking insane, and I love it. All right, so what else can we talk about? Let's talk about the music, or the lack thereof. So we're all familiar with the main theme from The Exorcist called Tubular Bells. It's a very iconic, creepy sounding, almost music box sounding theme. And it's when it's got that innocent kind of sound, but you know it's demonic, it's ominous. That sounds great, but it's really not overused in the movie. In fact, it's hardly used in the movie. And in fact, there's not a lot of music per se, like no traditional composition or score used in The Exorcist. If you get anything, it's just some screeching and some scary sounds, but a lot of time it's just quiet. And I appreciate that because it doesn't distract me. I don't need to be told when to be scared. You know, I don't need jump scare sounds. I don't need it. I just don't. Quiet moments are fine most of the time, but then they knew how to accentuate a scene with some creepy music when necessary. Oh yeah, okay, so there's these scenes that I like in the movie where I'd say it's realistic in the sense that once Reagan starts to go, you know, her mom takes her to doctors to try and figure out what's wrong with her. So it's that transition of this really sweet, adorable little girl starting to turn. And I like when she's sitting in the doctor's office and she starts giving him attitude.
Can you feel this?
I don't feel anything.
Just in your mouth. Keep it there. This tells your temperature. And the red light goes on. That's your temperature.
I don't want it.
These scenes, oh God, they just strike me. Like, I'm like, dude, there's some evil in this bitch. But I love it. And so we get to see where the transition is starting to happen. But of course, they keep it realistic. Naturally a mom's gonna take her daughter who's acting strange to doctors to try and figure it out. And they keep showing us all these scenes where science and medicine is trying to figure out what is wrong with Reagan. They do all these things. They keep taking all these guesses, which is a lot of, in my experience, I don't know about you guys, let me know, but in my experience of going to doctors, they just do a lot of guessing. They're like, you cough a lot? It might be this, it might be that, here, take these pills. It's just a lot of guesswork, and then they show that in this movie. It could be this, let's try the Ritalin. No, let's put her under a scanner. Let's do this operation on her. They try everything. And naturally, you'd think, oh, it's a medical condition, but then it's revealed, like, ultimately, in the end, even the doctors themselves have to say, we don't know. And the best we can do is smugly, like, recommend you to an exorcist. Because, they didn't really believe that, but they had no other answers for him. So I like that they showed science and medicine had no answers for this, and this woman had to resort to religion, basically. And she's not even a religious person. And that also brings us to more interesting themes, is that the younger priest, whose name is Damien, interestingly enough, in the movie, he's struggling with his faith. So when Chris goes to him and says, my daughter needs an exorcist, or an exorcism, he's like, no, probably no. She needs psychiatry. He doesn't believe it. Even when he goes in there and he sees her looking crazy as fuck, sounding like a demon, he's still skeptical because he lost his faith. So to believe that this little girl is actually possessed by the devil or by a demon, that means, oh, you mean shit's actually real? So like hell and heaven is real? And like he's having to re-find his faith again. And I think that's a cool theme in the movie. So let's talk about some things that I dislike about the movie before we wrap it up. So I don't like the opening scene. Pretty much nobody does. This has been brought up a lot. Both the writer and the director naturally defend the opening of this movie in Iraq, where it kind of quietly shows that the elder priest is realizing he's going to have to face evil. And it just doesn't fit the tone of the rest of the movie. The location and the tone is too drastically different. And then to go from that and then jump into Georgetown, the kind of dreariness of that place, it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. I don't think that the opening scene should have been in that location. While I do agree that we needed to be introduced to this priest ahead of time, it's just the location is all wrong. They defend that, but you know, William Friedkin, the director, he defends it, but even he in the extended director's cut wound up going back and adding in just little clips of showing the Reagan's house and showing that location, because even, I guess, either enough people told him or he just instinctually could tell that we needed to be anchored in that location, not show up in some desert Iraq that doesn't fit in with the rest of the movie. It doesn't even come back into play for the rest of the movie. It just doesn't fit. My only other complaint, though, is the investigator, the detective that shows up like over an hour into the movie. Now, naturally, if there was something strange about the director within the movie that's being made inside The Exorcist, he winds up dying in a mysterious way, falling down those infamous steps and breaking his neck, and so the detective is on the case. While it makes sense that there would be a detective asking questions, and when he shows up to Chris's house and he's questioning her, it does get interesting, but then it just goes nowhere. It doesn't pay off in any way. So they could have just cut him right out of the movie and it wouldn't have affected it pretty much hardly at all. Yeah, he could have not been in the movie. I think that's about it. Great performances by everybody, man. You got to give it up for everybody. Little Linda Blair there, a young girl. I think it might have been her first movie role and she killed it. And then Jason Miller does a great job. I think this was actually his first film role as well, because he was a theater actor beforehand. And then, of course, Max von Sydow does great. I want to give it up to Ellen Burstyn, though, as a mom losing her mind as she loses her daughter, is just a phenomenal performance. She should have won Best Actress. Well, before we wrap it up, this movie is about demons and devils, so I thought I'd invite an expert on the show to talk to us a little bit about what he thinks about The Exorcist. Danny, you there, buddy?
May the power of death twitch compel you. May the power of death twitch compel you. May the power of death twitch compel you. Just kidding, motherfuckers. Dan and Devil here. What's up, Eric from the Death Twitch?
What up, dude? Welcome to the Death Twitch. Thanks a lot for that intro. All right, so you've seen this movie, right? What'd you think of it?
This was a 1973 film? And you know what, Eric? It looks like a motherfucking 1973 film. Damn straight.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I really like this movie. You know, it's really, really up my alley. About demons and devils and possession and all that kinds of shit. You know, that kind of shit. You hear me, people? You hear me?
Dude, all right, just try to focus.
Ooh, Eric hears me. Yes, you do. But they bring in this old man. Hey, everybody in the church, let's get this old guy to perform an exorcism, because you know what? His heart will be fine. He won't get a stroke. No, he won't. Hell no. What am I thinking? Sons of bitches! Stupid! Damn! Look at me! Oh, I'm running. Oh my God. Oh, this room's so cold. Oh, fuck you.
You're wrong, man. You're wrong.
Oh, damn. We put an old man in there. Oh, I know. They got the young guy. And he prevailed in the end.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so what did you think about little Linda Blair there playing Reagan?
She's pissing and she's a shitting, I think. She's got to take a dump, right? Right, Eric? Is that what's going on? Little girl about she's wet in the bed and she's peeing, and she got bad acne stuff going on in her face, and she pukes a lot. She's got the flu. I think she got the flu. Yeah. She's throwing up and stuff. But yeah, lots of diarrheas and shit, boogers, and even down there. She does this really, really bad stuff with the cross. Damn, even I ain't that sick. Anyways, Eric, I would have to say, I bow to you. I bow to the Death Twitch. Thank you very much for having me back on. I feel pleasured. So now I'm gonna go sleep down in the depths of hell. So later, buddy. Later. Here I go. May the power of Death Twitch compel you. May the power of Death Twitch compel you. Later. Woo-wee.
All right, thanks a lot for stopping by, you crazy dude, and talking to us about The Exorcist. Woo, that guy. Things aren't boring when Danny's around, let me tell you. So, let's wrap it up and rate this motherfucker. I was going to give it a 4 3/4, which is damn fucking fine rating, but you know what? Just because I don't want to piss Satan off, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 5 out of 5 stars. It's an excellent movie. Yeah, check it out. All right, man, so let's do another Q&A real quick. Now, I asked the people on the Death Twitch Facebook page if they had any questions or comments for me, and this is what I got. Nick is wondering, ever seen the sequel to Rock and Roll Nightmare? And that's a negative. In fact, I didn't even know there was a sequel until you asked me that question, and I probably won't watch it. All right, Wyatt Queen's asking, what are your thoughts on the Phantasm series? My thoughts are I like the first 2, and then the series gets pretty blah after that. But even though they're not all great, Phantasm does have a certain charm about it. Jeremy, what are your favorite horror movies to watch on Halloween? I don't actually have any particular movies that I watch on Halloween because I watch horror year-round. I watch the movies I like year-round. I don't save them for a particular day, but I will probably watch like the Garfield Halloween special or the Peanuts Halloween special, classics like that. Things like that. Riley, do you like the Universal monster movies? Damn, of course I do. What are you even asking me that for? What kind of question is that? All right, Shane, do you watch foreign horror movies, and if so, which ones are good? I'm not an expert on foreign horror. One day I probably will be, but not as of yet. So I can't really recommend a lot to you, except to say that Dario Argento makes a beautiful movie. But yeah, sometimes I check out foreign horror. And then Jim is asking, Jim Garrison, is there a movie or band you used to hate or love that you now love or hate? Band or movie? Yeah, well, the Rob Zombie Halloween movies, I liked them when I first saw them, and then the more that I watch them, the less I like them, including the second one now. I've reached that point now where I've seen it enough times where I'm just like, you guys are right, it's not that great. Those are really some of the few that I can think of where that happened. And as far as bands go, I didn't like a lot of the bands that I love now. That was because I was closed-minded. So once I opened my mind to Pantera, Manson, and these things, that's when I realized, when I listened to them and gave them a chance, that's when I liked them. So if that makes sense at all. If it makes any kind of sense. Rob Petrie's got, Peter, I don't know your name. Rod, he's got a good question. If you were given free reign to produce or direct a horror movie and you could hire whoever you wanted to work on it, who would you get? So I don't have a real answer for you, but I do have a cheeky answer, is that I would hire Verna Fields to edit the movie, John Carpenter to score the movie, and Dean Cundy to be the cinematographer, the dream team. Tristan, If you could change anything in your past, what would it be? And do you usually follow your heart or your head? Yeah, if I could change anything in my past, I would not date the psychos that I dated. But then again, I would probably just wind up dating other psychos. And I would do better in school. And I would have went to college a lot sooner. I would have tried to make something of my life. Jesus Christ. Something's going on out there. Cal's asking, have we resolved what the official group name is? Like, what is the name of the Death Twitch fan base? And no, not really. You guys, that's your job. I don't know. What do you call yourselves? I don't know, guys. I don't know. We got nothing here. Mika, if you could be a part of any upcoming horror film, what would it be and what would you want to do? Are there any non-film projects? Do you like to see adapted to the big screen, like a novel or a comic book? I would like to see the movie Illusions, The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah as a movie. In fact, I'd like to make that movie, Illusions, The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah by Richard Bach. That'd be cool. And I also think The Crow should be an animated movie. Like, not cartoon, but like CGI animated. It just seems like they've somehow missed that opportunity. They just didn't see it. It seems really obvious to me. They should make The Crow as like that. Sort of like Spawn, dark, graphic novel, sort of animated, like CGI movie. Get this done already. Especially now with the advances. It could look awesome and could be great. You never know. Last question, Robert is asking. In regards to video games, which would you be more interested in? Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, more or less along the lines of the latest Friday the 13th. I was thinking maybe an RPG type of game, blah, 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 blah. He's saying a lot here. There's a lot of questions disguised as one question. Or a mainstream Mortal Kombat type of game, completely revolving around horror characters. Yeah, I think that they could totally do a Nightmare on Elm Street game these days, and not necessarily multiplayer like the new Friday the 13th game, but just because of all the creativity involved in a Nightmare on Elm Street, they could do a great video game either way. I'm not a gamer myself. Like I think RPG means role-playing game, but even like knowing that, I don't know what that means. I'm not a gamer, so I can't answer this question that great. But yeah, I mean, I think Nightmare on Elm Street is just full of potential to be a video game. And that's it. We better wrap it up here. This shit's going on too long. But thanks, as always, to everybody that supports and helps out. And I hope everybody has a badass fucking Halloween. All right. Later, guys.